Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what we have in store for you today. What would you do if you saw your wife walking into a hotel with another man? Would you confront her right away, or you wait to find out more details? Now let's find out all about it in today's first story. Also, if you like what I do, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now the story goes like this. I am happily married to my wife, and that is how this little story starts. We had a fairly good relationship and two amazing daughters, ages 10 and 13. Anyway, something seemed strange at some point. All of a sudden, she became extremely attached to her phone, made sure to remove the shared computer's saved password feature, and began having phone conversations that suddenly ended when I entered the house or went to our bedroom. I think you can figure out what it was. After a quarter of a century of marriage, I hoped it wasn't as bad as it seemed. So one day when she told me she was going to spend some time with the girls, I decided to follow her. Sure enough, I find her driving to a hotel to meet with some other man. Let's just call him P. To say it was a gut punch was an understatement. I literally cried for an hour straight. After I was done with my self-wallowing phase, I decided the best course of action was to get even. I thought of several scenarios that may or may not have involved me punching P into something that he will never forget. Eventually, I decided to do things more civilly and, more importantly, legally, but only just. So the first part of the plan was gathering evidence. I could have just gotten a private investigator, but I had something better in mind. So one day when my wife was at her job and the kids at school, I installed some small secret cameras and microphones I had bought. Due to the setup of our bedroom, I even managed to get one perfectly overlooking the bed. I didn't, however, use them while I was at home. So a couple of days passed when I proposed to my wife that the second to next weekend I should take the girls on a trip to a land site and stay a night or two. At this point, I should also mention that due to her job being pretty demanding and frequently exhausting her, and just due to our various passions and talents, I was always the main caregiver. I more often than not was the one cooking. I took a far more active role in raising the girls and showed them a lot more patience and attention. I didn't spoil them or anything like that. So me going alone with the girls on a trip wasn't that weird. This part will also be very important later. So 2 weeks pass, in which time I get my affairs in order and contact a lawyer to write up a separation agreement that would involve me keeping residence and custody. I go on the trip. Try not to give anything away to the girls and wait and see if P and my wife fall into the trap. When I returned home, I checked the recordings of the weekend, and sure enough, it was a 36-hour festival of my wife and P. When they weren't doing the deed, the dialogue was something even better. I found out that P had a wife, though more on her later. But even worse, they also talked about me, and besides the obvious physical character insults that I expected, they also talked about how small I was, how I didn't satisfy her, etc., etc. There was some really hurtful stuff, like her telling P some of my deepest secrets and shameful stories that I had only told her about, just so they could have a laugh. So at this point, I didn't have any doubts about what to do. The next day, when the kids left, but before my wife left to work, I confronted her with the video and told her that either she signed the separation agreement and left the house, or the girls were going to receive an in-depth explanation of all the activities Mummy got involved in. I wasn't going to do that, just to be clear. I love my daughters too much, but I put the threat there and she was too emotional to realize my bluff. She went through all the stages, denying everything, trying to bargain, threatening me, and getting angry. I let it go through all that stuff. Eventually, she signed the paper and she departed that very evening after she told her goodbyes to the girls. I didn't show or tell the girls anything graphic. I was always very honest with them. which is another reason why I was always the favorite parent. So I just said that mummy had been unfaithful. The younger took some time figuring it out, but that was made up by my older getting mightily upset. She had just gotten her first boyfriend, as I'm not sure the term really applies at that age, but she knew enough about the world to get angry big time. This would be very important in the custody battle, as though she did agree to give over custody for the moment, but I still fear that she would try and fight me for the kids. What I didn't expect her was for her to use her visitation rights to talk bad about me. Basically, she started telling my younger about how it was all my fault for not forgiving her. Her lawyer even started demanding she receive custody. There was no way for her to receive money or the house as she was caught cheating, and in my state that means quite a lot in divorce proceedings. So I finally activated my payback plan. I made a trip to South Carolina. Why South Carolina? Simple. Fort Sumter. I really wanted my daughters to see it. It was where I could upload my wife and P's escapades with no worries on popular websites, as you cannot be prosecuted for offences that weren't illegal when and where they were committed. I sent the links to my wife's employer, her clients, and everybody in her line of work just to be sure, also to P's wife and to his firm. P soon got a divorce. I feel sorry for his wife, as she was just an innocent victim in all of this, but I think it's better that she found out now than later. As for my wife, this was the end of any chance to get custody. She soon got fired from her job of 8 years. Of course, publishing the video clips on websites was a really dumb move that did count in court. It being done in South Carolina, it wasn't illegal or prosecutable, so it could only be used as a minus about my personality. But with my wife unemployed and practically being blacklisted in her profession, as well as the girls stating that they wanted to stay with me, there was no question on who would get custody. Yes, due to her being unemployed, I got alimony. But honestly, I make enough money to sustain both me and the girls, and they are old enough to allow me to have a full-time job. Several months later, my wife is still unemployed, though I do not know if it is from the websites or from the pandemic. The girls are growing up just fine and don't seem to mind not seeing their mother. The last time I communicated with my ex-wife was on Facebook, where she told me how I ruined her life and her relationship with her daughters, but honestly, I think she earned it. Now it's time we listen to comments from the community. Claycam-6 says, "The only thing missing from the plot is you start dating P's wife. Now that would be something." To which the OP replies, "Why though? I wouldn't really achieve anything against either my wife or P, besides maybe making P jealous. Plus I think the poor woman suffered enough from learning that her husband was a lying piece of poop. I've gotten my belly full of vengeance. I don't see any reason to mess up a life even more just for the sake of some petty vengeance." Now we have another story coming up next. But before that, let me remind you to hit the like button if you are enjoying the video so far. So this story will reach many more beautiful people like you around the planet. The second story is titled, "My wife had an affair with my best friend while I was away for my grandfather's funeral." We'll start with some background. I'm 29 years old and my wife and I have been married for 9 years and have 2 wonderful children. I have a great and stable career and recently purchased a sizable home with my wife. One of my best friends was having a hard time with his life, and I offered him my spare bedroom in my home for a few months to help him get off his feet. Well, tragedy struck a month after he was over, with my grandfather passing away, so I went off to his funeral. I was gone for a week, but when I came home, I had an eerie feeling or instinct that my home life had changed. I did a bit of digging around and found out that my wife and my best friend were having an affair in my own home. He has since left the home, but home life isn't the same anymore. My wife has been indifferent about everything, and the intimacy is non-existent now. I also don't want my children to be affected by this affair, and I want to continue my relationship with my wife. My children ask for him all the time, and I just tell them their uncle just moved, yet they continue to ask when he is coming home. My home life with my wife has been incredibly difficult, as she lacks remorse for her actions and hasn't apologized to repair our relationship. We have been seeing a marriage counselor for some months now, and I don't think it's going anywhere. But maybe I'm just being unrealistic and expecting instant results. I'm in another state right now with my wife and children attending my wife's family reunion that had been planned for many months during the Christmas time frame before the affair occurred. I have had a difficult time talking to my extended family members as I feel as if it's the first or last time I'll ever see them, which saddens me greatly as I have been a good part of their lives, as they have been a part of mine. I'm having an incredibly difficult time coping with all of this, and also found out recently that my wife still talks to this so-called friend of mine. I just don't know what to do anymore, and I'm hanging on because I love this woman with all my heart, and I don't want our children's lives affected. However, it's taken a huge toll on me too. Any words of advice would be greatly appreciated. I don't want any family members to know of the struggles and judge my wife. Now here is the update to that story. My wife still hasn't apologized for her actions and told me it's all my fault for the duration of our marriage, for her actions which she isn't sorry about. I'm going to admit it had its ups and downs, but nowhere near as she perceived it to be. Well, I think I'm starting to see it all clearly now. I also found out an hour ago that instead of the Christmas shopping she said she was doing, she went to see that guy. Reality just slapped me hard in the face with this person whom I loved. Just so sad now. However, I won't give her the satisfaction of seeing me at my lowest. Now here's another update to this story. It's Christmas Day and I feel defeated. I did everything in my power to ensure my children still had a good Christmas. However, the wife wasn't happy and yelled at me many times in front of our kids, saying that I hate you and I don't love you. Enough so that the kids repeated saying, "Mommy hates Daddy" or "Mommy doesn't love Daddy." It's a terrible thing for my children to hear our arguments. I always try not to let them hear or see those, and I feel guilty for it. She now fully demands I come up with a plan, and all this is my doing. She doesn't see how my books on getting past an affair, reading online articles, and asking for help on forums is helping our marriage. I feel defeated, and I'm not trying to start anything in front of the children on Christmas Day. I don't have the strength in my body, mind, or soul right now. Telling me to man up right now or leave her today isn't going to do anything. My spirit, confidence, and heart are broken and at an all-time low. I'm trying to gather the strength and move on because it should be a happy day for my family. Well, I want it to be at least for my kids. Long story short, I completely forgot about this and not sure why. This random thought came up and felt compelled to provide what had happened over the last 6 years. We did divorce and I was still broken for a few years. I did get the house and we have shared custody of the kids. They are old enough to decide where to go now and evenly split time between their mothers and my home. This makes the kids happy and myself happy knowing they turned out fine. For myself, I am in a much better place than I was before. Had tons of funny and scary adventures around the world with my two good friends who helped me recover. Coincidentally, we all divorced within the same time frame and appropriately threw a pretty awesome bachelor boat party. I took a lot of that dark energy and turned it into something positive. Negative feedback on my business ideas I received from my ex long ago turned out to be pretty damn good business ventures. I started a successful VR arcade company and created a fan base in the city I started in. However, that has paused due to lockdown, but now planning on opening in several cities to include international locations. I also started a crypto mining company several years ago before crypto blew up. It continues to grow and working on Web3 with decentralization crypto now. most recently completed research on AI and ML with the development of the new AR platform to begin in 2022 to support social media content creators. Overall, pretty happy and comfortable today. The kids are well taken care of and have used those years of marriage as experience to connect with women better. There was a lot of self-reflection as well on better communication and learning the importance of dating. Things I didn't do well in the past, but improved on this substantially. I did end up dating various types of women over the last 6 years, and I decided I am against forced meetups and the use of dating apps. I thought it would be cool to meet someone by chance. As an entrepreneur and a guy in tech, for this idea to work, it's important to find time to leave the house, and I do travel often for pleasure and business globally, even during the pandemic. My advice for anyone who is in this situation: time does heal. Reading the above now 6 years later, I was hard on myself. Take that negative or dark energy and invest it into something you wish you could have done or always wanted to do. You will recover fine, and who knows, you may meet someone better who shares the same values as you. Well guys, thanks for listening to today's stories. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did recording it for you. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on our future videos. Take care.